The gentlelady yields. My colleague, Mr. Perry, Congressman Perry, is recognized for 5 minutes for questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff, according to ICE, you're the sheriff, right?
Yes.
Florida, yeah, Pinellas County.
Yes.
According to ICE, as of July 21st last year, there were 662,566 illegal aliens with criminal histories free in the United States. And of course, those are just the ones that ICE knows about. Now, I happened to be present at a hearing a week and a half ago with the mayors of some of what people or describe as sanctuary cities. Now, I found it interesting that none of the folks that were testifying, the mayors, they wouldn't refer to them as sanctuary cities. They referred to them as welcoming cities, but that's another story. Maybe we'll get into that. But be that as it may, they all claimed that there was no correlation between increased crime rates and illegal immigration. Fascinating. At the same time, none of them, well, they all admitted to not keeping any records regarding immigration status of the people that they arrested or that were arrested in their cities for criminal activity. And I'm just wondering, look, you're a law enforcement guy. This is your vocation. Mm-hmm. This is what you do. This is your passion. What are we supposed to think? What are members of the public supposed to think when they see that? The claim is made that there's no correlation, yet it seems pretty obvious to me that you can't know the answer if you're not going to ask the question. Am I out of the ballpark here, or what's happening?
No, you're completely in the ballpark. It's ridiculous to think that the people who are here illegally and are also committing crime are not a horrific impact to every community in this country. And when you have these sanctuary policies that aren't welcoming policies, because even people who are here illegally, who are not committing crime, they don't want to be victims of crime. And so it's disingenuous to say that we are not going to ask, we're not going to track these people who we're arresting, who are committing all these crimes, to know their immigration status, because those are the people that we need to get rid of. If you come into this country illegally and you are not here because of proper legal status, you need to go, and you need to go yesterday. And that's what law enforcement needs to be focused on, and that's what every city should be focused on, is to not to encourage, not to allow, not to permit these people to wreak havoc in our communities, and that's what they're doing.
So I suspect you've pledged an oath to keep the citizens that elected you. You're an elected sheriff, right? You pledged to keep them safe under the authority of your law enforcement position. You know, what is the impetus for an elected official to not want to know, like to not collect that information? And you know, we're the federal government, right? So we don't want to be telling. Law enforcement is a state and local issue, generally speaking, as it should be. So we don't want to tell you how to run your railroad here, but what are we to do? How are we going to get the information to make good decisions and good policy decisions, other than just conjecture, if you're not going to collect that information? Do you have any advice for us? Do you have a recommendation for us? I mean, the mayor of Chicago said he's a welcoming city, and over again complained that the governor of Texas was sending all these people to his city. But he was saying he's a welcoming city, he's welcoming them, and apparently he didn't get the memo that those people weren't forced to come to Chicago. They chose to go to Chicago, and I suspect they chose to go to Chicago because he was welcoming them, because they were seeking sanctuary, and that is sanctuary from law enforcement. How do we, if we have local officials who are sworn to protect their citizens and uphold the law, but refuse to collect information regarding the law and infractions by people here illegally, how do we get that information?
Well, you can't reconcile that. Why would you be welcoming to people who are here illegally and here committing crime? There's also 1.4 million people that have final orders of deportation with I-205s, which are the removal warrants, who have just thumbed their nose at the immigration courts, the immigration system, and said they're not leaving. So there are a whole lot of people who are not the people that they want to talk about, which are the people that have been here for 15, 20 years, who are a product of failed immigration policies and are just going about their business. That's what they want to talk about. They don't want to talk about all the people who are thumbing their nose at the system, that have warrants outstanding for them, that are committing crime, that are wreaking havoc in the communities, and the ones that we are desperately trying to get rid of and to remove and to deport, because they're a problem for all of us. And again, like I said, they're a problem for U.S. citizens. They're a problem even for those that are here illegally who aren't committing crime. And to say we welcome them, that makes no sense.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield.
The gentleman yields. After consultation with the ranking member, I request unanimous consent that each side be given 2 minutes of additional time to question the witnesses.